Hello and welcome back to linuxjobber.com, where we prepare you for Linux jobs. So if you're looking to get a Linux job, or if you're already a system administrator looking to change jobs, we will teach you what you need to know, refresh your memory about the commands and questions that interviewers are likely to ask. My own name is Showunmi Joseph, and I will be walking you through this tutorial today. And my email is showpopulous@gmail.com. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email, and I will definitely answer your question. For today, we will be looking at, let's go to the home page. We'll be looking at section 4, which will be commands and permissions. We're going to be teaching the permissions for files and users, and we have the concept, basic, and the intermediate videos and tutorials if you ever need to. So for today, we're just going to be doing the practice, and I'm going to click on the practice so we can do some real hands-on work. Now, these are the questions that we have for today on that practice, and I'm going to read the question very quickly so I won't waste time. Let me read it very quickly. Create a directory, my company, with my users, sales, and web as subdirectories. Set the group ownership of each directory to be the same as the group name. Ensure everyone can access but not write to my company. Set permissions on directories my users, sales, and web such that the group can read, write, and execute the folders but deny access to all others. Ensure that all directories created in the future under my users, sales, and web are owned by the parent group and that the directory permissions are automatically set to 4. So let's get started. So the last part should actually be sales web are owned by the parent group and that default permissions for any directory created by user Jason is set to 744. So let's get started. Let me open up my CentOS and then we'll get started doing the work very quickly. So now we'll look at the first part. It says create directory my company with my users, sales, and web directories web as subdirectories. This will probably earn you half a point on a typical examinations. So the command to create directories, which you already know, make directory my company. But to make it easy, we can create if we use the -p option, it will create the parent directory for us. So it says my users. Let's be sure. My users, sales, and web. So this is my users. So it has created my company even though my company didn't exist before, but now it has created the parent directory my company. So now let's change to my company, and easily we can just create the other directories, sales and web, sales and web. So if we list what we have in here now, inside, as you can see, we are inside my company directory, which has just been created, and inside it we have my users, we have sales, and we have web. So this will probably earn you half a point on a typical examination, and on the Red Hat exam it would earn you 1 point. So now let's go to the next one. It says set the group ownership of each directory to be the same as the group name. So if we look at it right now, if we do a long listing, which is ls-ll of this directory, you can see everything is owned by root. So to change the group, we can do two things. We can either use the change group command, change group to my users, or we can just do chmod root my users. and then put the um, directory name. But the groups my users, sales, and web do not exist right now because we just created them, and it says to the question says to set the group ownership of a directory to be the same as the group name. So first we have to create those groups, because otherwise you can't make those groups owned by the directories, because the groups do not exist. So we have to do add group. Um, okay, group add. I mix it up sometimes. Whether add group or group add, I mix it up sometimes. So it's group add, and my users. I'm not sure that we can put everything on the same line, but let's just try it out. So it doesn't allow us to put it on the same line, and my users exist already. So so the groups have already been created then, so we don't have to do this over again. So we're just gonna make the directories owned by this group. So now let's use the change group command. I'm gonna show both of them. Change group to my users, my users, and then the other one I'm gonna just use. So if we do a long listing now, you can see that my users, the group has changed right here, but the other ones, the group is still owned by root. So now let's use a different way to change the group. So we're gonna use the chmod root sales. No, chown. I made a mistake. Chown. So if we do a long listing now, you see that the the directory sales is now owned by group sales, and then we could just use either one for the last one. So I'm just gonna use this just because it's right here, and if we do this again, this is one of those things. We're just changing group. It will only earn you half a point on a typical exam. On a Red Hat exam, it will earn you about 1 point. So let's take a look. So we've done this. So it says ensure everyone can access but not write to my company. So this is the parent directory now. And for everyone to write, we're looking at the so do a long listing for my company. So it's owned by root, and the permission right now is that it says ensure everyone can read. Let's see what the question says. Everyone can access but not write to. So if we look at this, everyone can access, which is this. Everyone can get into the directory. This is access. This is read. And the W, which is in the middle, is not set. The bit in the middle, which is the W, which is the right bit, is not set. So that part is done. Now let's go to the next one. Set permissions on directory my users, sales, and groups such that the group can read, write, and execute the folders, but deny access to all others. So we want the group to have the read bit set, the write bit set and the execute bit set. So if we look at this now, right now the group has the read bit set and the execute. We just have to do add the W to it. So that's G plus W. So group to be able to write. So we do a chmod G plus W for my company. And if we do a long listing here, you can see that the W bit is now set and the group can now read, write, and access. And the access in case of a file it will be execute. So right now it's an access, and that takes care of that part of the question. But now access to all of that. Ensure that all directories created in the future under my users, sales, and web are owned by the parent group. So if we create a directory inside my company, just like we did before for the my users, sales, and web directories, they were owned by group. They were owned by by the root user. So now let's try to create a file also. So if we do a touch my company test file and do a long listing for my company, you can see that test file is owned by root, and the question doesn't want that. The question wants when we create. What does the question want again? Let's see. All directories created in the future under my user sales are owned by parent group. Oh, okay. So now let's remove that one there. So we should be creating test file under one of the subdirectories. So if we create test file under, let's just say for instance, my users, typo error. Now we take a look at what we have inside my users. We try to see the test file that we just created. As you can see, it's owned by root, and the question says it's owned by root user and root group. But the question doesn't want that. The question wants when we create a test file, for the file to be owned, the group to be the group that owns this directory, which is my users group. So the way to do that will be to set the sticky bit on this my users directory, which is the sticky bit of the group. We change this to an S. If we do that, then any file, it's not called sticky bit. I'm sorry, not called sticky bit. It's called the GID. If we change the GID, if we change the GID, okay, now let's do it. So it says my user. So where are we? So let's do set GID. Set GID. I don't know why that's not there, but we can use this. Smart 2. What do we have here now? We have 7 5 5 5 755 for my users. Now if we do a long listing for, as you can see, this is still what it used to be, X. Right now it's changed to an S, which means that any file we created inside this directory now will now be owned by this group, my users. Simple as that. Any file that gets created inside this directory will be owned by this group, my users. So now let's test it. So if we do a touch on my users test file 2. Now let's take a look at what's inside my users. As you can see, the first one is owned by root, the one we created previously, but the second one is now owned by the my users group. So that's what to do. And the way we were able to do that is to use this 2 in front of the regular directory permission. This 2 corresponds to set GID. A 4 will correspond to set UID, and a 1 will correspond to set bit, sticky bit. So let's just do it for the rest of them. The chmod. We can also use set GID to change this, but I'm going to use chmod because it's easier. So I'm going to do the same thing for sales, and I'm going to do the same thing for web. And that's also very simple, but it'll probably carry about 2 points on a regular exam and 4 points on a Red Hat Certified System Administrator's examination. So now let's see what else we have to do on this question. Ensure that all directories created in the future under my users are owned by my users sales and web are owned by the parent group, which we did, and that default permissions for any directory created by user Jason is 744. Right now, if the user Jason creates the file, so let's sudo to Jason and see what directory permissions get created. So sudo to Jason. So right now we switched from root. We used to be root. We switched to Jason. Right now we are Jason. So now let's go to home. Let's see where we are first of all. Okay. Now let's see what Jason has. Jason has test file. So let's make a directory and see what happened. Make directory test file 2. Okay. So Jason's quota has been exceeded. So let's remove test file. Remove test file. So now let's try to create the directory. Right now we have created a directory. Let's see. We created a directory, make directory. We created a directory called test file 2. And the reason why Jason's quota was exceeded because the file here called test file is too large for Jason's quota. So we removed it, and now we have enough space. So now we created this directory called test file 2. So now let's see. Now, when Jason creates a directory, the default is 755, but the question wants it to be 744. So the way to do that will be we'll change this Jason's umask. There's something called umask, and we'll change it for Jason. But if we do this and we set this to 033, which will correspond to 744, it will not stay persistent. It will only stay for this session. So when Jason logs out and logs back in, it will reset back to whatever it is now. So we have to go and change it in the bash profile. I believe, yes, that bash profile to make it persistent so that every time Jason logs in, this will be the case. Now, how did we come to 033? Because the original when everything is set is 755, and the question wants us to do 744. So we minus 755 from 744, and if we do it 7 minus 4, 7 minus 4, the answer is 3 and 3. 7 minus 7 is 0. So we get 0, 3, and 3. So now let's go change the bashrc file. Bash profile we need. Well, it looks like it's not set here. Let's make sure it's not set in the bashrc. Okay, so it's not set here either. So we'll go back here and we'll set it here. We can put it anywhere in here. So I'm just gonna put it right here. umask 2033, and we're all done. And now that's another easy one. So a total of this question will probably be somewhere around 6 points on a regular exam, and on a Red Hat system certified system administrator's exam, the total for this question will probably be 12 points. So now, to be sure that our question was answered correctly, we have created a test file too, and we know what it is. So we're going to get Jason to log out and log back in, and he's going to create a directory and see what we get. So now we log back in as Jason. See what he has. Let's do a long listing. So we know he has a directory and it's 755. So now let's create another directory. This time we call it test file 3. Now let's see what the permission is. As you can see, it's 744. So now we're done with that question. And this seems like an easy one. So we should earn about 6 points for this exam. So let's make sure we're done. It's 744 and we're done. So thank you very much for watching. My name is Shonme Joseph and my email is showpopulous@gmail.com. So if you ever have any question, please send it to showpopulous@gmail.com, and I will be responsive. Thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.